Alright, welcome back. We have the M3 on the lift at the shop. This is the first time in my ownership I've been able to get the car to the shop. Really haven't driven it much. This is kind of the first long drive I've done, about 2-hour drive. And there's a few things on the initial shakedown run that I noticed that will need pretty much immediate attention. And we will go into those things a little later in the video or possibly in the next video. Pardon the construction noise. Of course, the day that I am able to film this video, there's just like World War III going on behind me. So hopefully it's not too noisy, but we're gonna go over this car. I'll show you what I got going on for it today. And hopefully just with a few simple, cheap eBay mods, this car will transform the front end and not look so ghetto. I'll show you the front. I noticed the back here, this tail light. I think there was an accident here. Well, I know the whole car, reconstructed title. We don't know the history. The tail light is cracked there, but also, I did not realize this, but this entire tail light is not screwed into the car. Now, luckily, pardon the mess, M50 being torn down, I have been building out my E36/BMW hardware store, so I should have some hardware that's going to work with that. I believe they're probably like M6 or M5 by 8 nuts, kind of like the E36 taillight. So for the front end of this car, there are two obvious really bad cosmetic modifications that I think make this car look awful. One being these grills, which I have some gloss black replacements, and this horrendous lip that is just really bad quality, but on top of that cracked and chipped and just looks awful. So hopefully the lip that I got will work. And that lip is a gloss black ABS plastic, kind of a GT4 look, but not as aggressive. All right, so now will be a good time to talk about my logic behind this build and how I intend on putting it together. I paid for this car primarily with the sale of my previous drift car, but additionally with my eBay storefront. I sell quite a bit of E36 parts on the eBay store, and it really truly made this purchase possible. With that being said, some of the exterior items that kind of have a limited life on the car, like a lip or a diffuser, something that could get easily damaged, I have no problem using eBay parts. I try and use factory specification for pretty much everything, but stuff like this where it's either a $800 GT4 carbon lip or a $100 eBay ABS plastic lip, I'm going to go ahead and choose the budget option because that is what this car's intended use will be on the track. It's supposed to get kind of beat on, so I'm gonna put the money where it counts and save the money where I can. That is my justification for this, so I just wanted to preface that because I don't typically build cars this way, but this car has a special purpose and will be built a special way. So with that being said, let's get into installing the grille and the lip. All right, so this is essentially my first glance at the S65 aside from when I bought it. I knew the guy's trick when he pulled up with this car. He had just taken it to the car wash, which means he soaked this thing in brake cleaner and got rid of any oil residue, but obviously we kind of knew what was going on with how sketchy everything else was about the car. So valve covers definitely seeping quite a bit, especially back by the injectors. But that is pretty typical for these. I want to tackle that sooner than later, so that is definitely on the list. And while we're in there doing that job, there's going to be a lot of other wear items that we can kind of check off the list. So I need to comprise a list of things that need to be done, and we'll tackle this engine bay. But for now, it is tolerable. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but could definitely be better. We also need hood shocks. To get these out, just some Torx screws, and we'll be able to unclip these by moving the bumper a little bit and getting behind the bumper and getting these clips out. Alright, so we got the grills in. They look really good. This is a quick and painless and cheap way to absolutely make your car look way less tacky if you got it and it came with that. Super tasteless modification in my opinion. We don't need those colored slats to tell everyone that this is an M3. The V8 does that just fine. And I am going for kind of the murdered out look on the M3. I've never done that on a car, but that is why I got these opposed to the chrome ones. Plus, if I wanted to get the chrome ones, I probably would have sourced OEM ones and they would have been over $100. And this is the easier, cheaper solution, and I think it looks great. So next thing is we're gonna lift this car up a little bit more, and I'm gonna yank this old lip off, clean up this bumper, and see about mounting this one. Okay, so as you can see, our old lip is off and the new one is there. Unfortunately, as I kind of was fearful of, it looks like this bumper was never painted here. It looks like someone self-tapered that lip on. That is why that bumper lip was actually color matched. Someone just slapped a lip over it. So I did not get a lip that covers this. So we'll see what we can do, but it's probably not gonna look great. Such is life. I don't know, I'll have to touch it up myself with just black spray paint. I mean, I know people are gonna love that, but again, kind of already written this bumper off. Looks like somebody had really just sprayed over it. I don't understand why somebody would do that, because this is, yeah, this is primer, this is not painted whatsoever. So I'm gonna see what I can do, but even cleaning it, it's gonna look the way it looks. All right, so after a quick little bit of purple power, unfortunately, as I feared, this was never painted. I don't know why you would go to the effort of painting the bumper and just slapping a lip over it instead of painting the bumper and then doing the lip separately. I don't get that. But Rancho Cordova rebuilders, you let me know in the comments, because I know that that's where this car ended up at some point, and that's what people do to maximize the most amount of profit. Can't even paint the bumper and the lip separately. So it is what it is. It's a drift car, doesn't really bother me all that much. If I had done some more investigation prior, I would have bought a lip probably that is a little bit more like that one, so it did cover this part, but is what it is. Again, not too worried about it. Definitely not the last bumper this car will have on it, so I think this lip will look better anyways. The car is black. Once it's on the ground, it shouldn't be that noticeable. It's very noticeable because I'm pointing the camera at it, but honestly, I don't think it'll be that bad. So I'm gonna clean this up on the bottom with some acetone so we can get prepped, and we're gonna use some of the 3M tape that was provided. We'll see how sticky it is. Might have to use some from the shop. Had self-tappers. It came with new self-tappers, so we're just gonna run that back with the self-tappers and probably put them in the same spot or similar, but there's only 4 points to secure it from, which is fine by me. I'd rather have the lip rip off than rip the entire bumper off with it. So anyways, I'm going to get this thing ready and we'll pop this lip on and hopefully it'll look way better. I gotta lie, this looks great. Okay, really though, it's not that bad. I think once the car is on the ground, it'll look a hell of a lot better, but this is really a bummer. I like this style of lip better where it protrudes past the bumper a little bit there. This lip was like $100 and some change, so I think this lip is perfect for something like this. Long time goal would be to have a proper painted Jerez bumper with a carbon GT4 lip. I'm glad I did not do carbon this time around because that would look awful with this primer bit. So I'm glad the gloss black is just subtle, matches the grills. My car is not a carbon roof car, so I didn't want to overdo any carbon. I am thinking about doing the carbon fenders though. Let me know what you guys think, because this fender is full on cracked. But yeah, for now, it's fine. It's on there. It's very secure. It's not going anywhere. The bumper is not very secure, but the rest of the lip and stuff is secured with 3M tape, and I think I did like 7 self-tappers, so 1 in the center, and then these on the corners are all self-tapped, so it can't go anywhere. So $100 lip, likely to be obliterated at some point by something. So not bad for $100. I believe I saw some spacers floating around the shop somewhere, so I'll have to locate those. I believe they're either 10 or 15 mil, and I'll throw them on the front here and we can get a little bit more of aggressive front end. These wheels, the paint on them is awful. Whoever did this, like, I don't know what was going on, but there was no prep work. I'm gonna get new wheels for the car eventually, but I think for now it would be kind of cool to get the front end a little more aggressive looking. We'll do that with some spacers. They will be hub centric, so don't worry. I've run spacers on cars for years, had no issue with them. I know there's mixed opinions, but just my personal experience, I've never had an issue. So I'm going to see if I can locate those spacers and throw them on the car. All right, so I was wholeheartedly expecting a hell of a lot worse underneath this car, but it actually looks pretty decent. Looks like about average for a 100,000 mile E92 M3 that's not seen very much maintenance. Some seepage here and there. The diff looks really good. The rear end looks pretty good. The transmission doesn't look like it's seeping or anything. Really, we just have the oil pan and stuff to worry about, which of course we'll knock out when we do rod bearings. I'm really glad I managed to round up some hardware for this pan, because every time I'd hit a bump, it would be this horrible metallic sound, like this tinny noise. And I'm pretty sure that's all we had to worry about. So as far as the underside, it's looking pretty good. We're just gonna go ahead and tackle some basic maintenance like belts, probably a guibo and a CSB, some bushing, some fluids, and just kind of get a general base point for this car, and we can improve upon it from there. But I just want to tackle some of those really overlooked items just for my peace of mind. When I do the rod bearings, I'm hopefully going to just get a Blackstone report on it and send it in to them. And that way we'll get a much better idea in detail of how the S65 is doing health-wise. I'm 99.9% sure the rod bearings have not been done on this car. The previous owner said they were, but I don't believe a word that came out of that dude's mouth, so I'm not gonna take that as far as receipts. I don't really have any, so it's not something that I'm gonna take his word on. It's cheap insurance in the long run, given that these S65s are pretty expensive, so do the rod bearings. Not going to be too difficult. Plus we can knock out a few other little issues we have underneath the car while we're doing that. So that should be exciting. All right, I'm gonna just say it. For the amount of money that I have into this, for the lip, the grills, the spacers I had laying around the shop, but let's call it 50 bucks. So let's say all in is a $200 transformation. I think that this looks miles better than it did when it came in this morning. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, this sucks with the bumper being primered down here, but that's easy enough for me to touch up. By no means is it perfect. Yes, I know there's bumper sag, that fender's cracked. Like, we still have a ways to go. But honestly, for the amount of money that I just put into this, just to revive it a little bit, it looks so much better. The fitment is actually really flush. Well, the track width, I should say, because could do to be a little lower. And actually, I think those tires are reversed. But anyways, fitment's pretty good for free modification for me. So I'm satisfied with that. Apart from the bumper really bumming me out, everything else looks really good. I'm really stoked on this. All right, so probably the last thing I'm gonna tackle for the day is deal with these taillights, test them, see what's going on, because I am getting some codes for both the taillights. So I'm going to, I guess this is the ballast, whatever you would call it, but I'm going to manually test these with the power probe and check all the bulbs, all the circuits, and clean this up. And maybe that will help us get rid of those codes. And I mean, this taillight was literally just floating with nothing to secure it. So got some nuts here that will work. I believe this is the right size. I don't know if I have 3 of these black ones, but they're gonna have to match. But yeah, okay, so that's perfect. Those fit, so have some nuts put on these studs, and I'm gonna test these and I'll let you guys know what we get. All right, so we're gonna test these bulbs. This is the ballast part here. I'm gonna plug in the power probe and we'll see what we get. Luckily the battery's got some voltage to it, and we can apply over 12 volts, so we should be okay. We're just gonna test one by one here. All right, so we just got the ground on these bulbs. The ground I always just put on that little post on the side that normally goes into the socket and makes that ground connection in the ballast. And so we're just gonna apply some voltage to this, and we're gonna do that with the rest of the bulbs. All right, so as I'm putting the taillight in, I noticed something that is likely our culprit for the weird intermittent taillight problems. This, wherever this ends up going, which I have not traced yet, is actually tapped in to the taillight harness. So there could be an issue there. That is my guess. Either it was for a backup camera or something of that nature. Either way, I'm gonna secure this taillight with those nuts, and at least the taillight will stay on the car. And while I'm in here, I'm just gonna check this taillight as well, at least with the bulbs. So we'll get this out of here when I have 2 hands free, and I'll let you know how that goes. All right, well, I'm glad I said I was gonna do that, because I shit you not, this is what I am greeted with. There's a bulb there, and then also this battery is completely standing in water. So I'm going to drain that because that is not good. But yeah, I'll check the taillight after I deal with this bullshit. All right, well, that was fun. Really enjoyed that. So got as much of the water out as I could with my shop vac. And next time I wrench on this car, I'll pull the battery out. But this is my ride home because my truck is back at the house. So I'm not gonna mess with it. It's working, and that's kind of what matters right now. Obviously, it's not super safe for me to be driving the car if there is a bunch of corrosion on these connections, so I need to deal with that as soon as possible, but I do need to at least get home today. So yeah, tested all the bulbs on this tail light, all good. And of course this one secured into the car, so we don't have an issue there. I'm gonna vacuum this trunk and then I'll probably pack it up. Just one thing after another, but we're making progress here, at least finding issues that need to be attended to. The other thing I noticed, and what I have a theory on, is I do have a passenger restraint system airbag code for this car, and just a random guess, well, not random, but an educated guess, we may have some corrosion because that there is the connection, that black cable is the connection for the airbag, I believe, and there could be some corrosion in that terminal. So maybe it's as simple as going through all these connections and cleaning all the corrosion out, and maybe we get lucky and we don't actually have any real faults. So that will be something I explore as well. But for now, I'm gonna put this back together, vacuum the trunk, and go home. All right, so that's a step in the right direction. Car is already looking a little bit better. So that's what I got for the E92 M3 today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was entertaining, and hopefully you can see how much work I'm gonna have to put into this car to make it nice. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to continue on with this series. So stick around, stay tuned. Got a lot more planned for the car. But with that all being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing the video. Everything helps. And yeah, see you guys in the next one, where hopefully we're doing something fun on the E92 M3. Thanks for watching. Peace.